Hello everyone. Today I was working on my Ford Expedition. This is a 2000 Ford Expedition, and it has a 9.75 differential, limited slip differential in the back, and this particular car has about 160,000 miles on it. And when I was going around turns, I could start to feel the differential slip, and also when I'd back out of a parking spot and start to move forward, I could feel the rear end slipping. And those are some classic signs of a problem that's well known to F150 owners and Ford's limited slip or trac-lok transmission. So I appreciate everyone that's posted information on YouTube and on websites. I found a lot of information on the 8.8 Ford's 8.8 inch differential, and the purpose of this video today is to just talk a little bit about touch on some of the highlights of rebuilding a 9.75 differential. The 9.75 is different. It doesn't have an S spring like the Ford 8.8. And the other thing that was going on with this particular car was, as I drive along, I would hear like a clunking noise, almost like a horse galloping. So it'd go clunk, 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 clunk. So for the longest time, I suspected a wheel bearing was going bad, but I didn't know which one. So while I had this car apart to fix the clutch packs in the differential, I also took this time to look at the axles, and lo and behold, I did find an axle that was bad. So we'll go over here and just look at the axle for a minute. So this is the old axle, and you can kind of see here the shiny surface where the rear wheel bearing runs across it. And as I turn this around, you'll notice there's a big portion of the axle where it's all pitted and the shiny chrome surface is missing. So this is clearly what my problem was with the rear. One of these rear wheel bearings was grinding against this. So while I was in there, I just decided to get a new axle and also replace the wheel bearings and seals on both sides. Okay, so I was going to go in here and replace the wheel bearing and also the rear wheel seal. This is what the new seal looks like. So I plan to use a crowbar to get the old seal out by going behind it like this and prying it out. So here we go. A hammer might need to be used. Okay, she's coming loose. I'm going to try to tap it in so it folds on itself and makes a little more room to pull it out. There we go. Okay, so we were able to get the rear wheel seal out with the crowbar, and next we want to get the rear bearing out. So this is the new bearing I got. It looks slightly different in that the rollers are touching each other, but the old one, the rollers are not. So I'm still going to go ahead and replace it with this new one, even though they don't look the same. The one thing that helps when you're taking these rear wheel bearings out is to go to your local auto parts store and hopefully get one of their loaner kits. It's a bearing puller kit. And they have different sizes depending on your wheel bearing that you're going to pull out. The other thing is that at the end at this end you usually attach a slide hammer, and here's the setup we're going to be using today to pull this rear wheel bearing out. We basically put this behind the bearing and slide the hammer back to get the bearing out. So what you do is you feed this through the bearing, and it latches around the back of it, and you're able to pull the old one out. So let's give it a try. Okay, now I'm going to tighten down on this bolt a little bit so when we're hammering away it doesn't slide out. Nothing's ever easy. This one's been in about 13 years, so I may have to stand up and use a little more force. Okay, I'm just going to try rotating the back part a little. It kind of looks like it's starting to move, but I can't really tell. Okay, so we are making some progress here. All right, finally. Okay, so I noticed when I pulled my old bearing out, old wheel bearing out, I looked at the seat where the bearing goes, and I happened to notice that it looked like the tool may have slid past the outer case of the bearing here and left some groove marks on the seat inside here. So what I'm going to do to fix that, I'm just going to take my Dremel tool with a stone bit on there and just go in there and smooth off the rough edges that were left by this tool slipping down. So I think the next time I pull the bearing out, I'm going to make sure this this bolt is very tight up against the wheel bearing, so the back of the tool won't slide up and down. Okay, so I finished grinding down the little nicks I put in the seat for the bearing. So I'm getting ready to put in my new bearing. I noticed the old bearing had the letters on the outside, pointing outside, so that's the way I'm going to install the new one. I went to the auto parts store and got their loaner toolkit, and I picked for the loaner kits used to install bearings. So I picked the right size that pretty much covers the bearing. And then I also looked at the other wheel to make sure that when I hammer the bearing in that it's seated properly. And there's a little ridge here, and that little ridge is just barely visible on the other side. So I'll need to hammer my bearing in, and I'll know it's properly seated by looking at this ridge. So here we go. You know, one other thing I wanted to mention was after I went in here with my Dremel, I tried to get all the grit out so the grit doesn't get in the bearing, and I cleaned it with brake cleaner as well. But I think because the bearing came out of here so hard, I'm just gonna put a little oil around the edge of this. Okay. And then I guess the other thing too was I really should pack this bearing with grease. So let me go get the grease and do that real quick. So I'm just using this general purpose synthetic grease. It says it's for all US, European, and Japanese vehicles. So I want to get that into the bearings here. Pack that in real good.